So as we're getting ready to do our informative speeches over the next few weeks, I want to make sure that I go over some of this material that we would have gone over in class, but obviously due to the weather, we've not seen each other in quite some time. So some of this information is from chapters 10 and 11. You need to make sure that you have read all of the chapters in regards to public speaking. As a hybrid course, it is your information to do a lot of your work at home. Therefore, that's why we're not changing our schedule in order to maintain and keep everything going in a timely manner. I want to try to get these speeches done before we go on spring break, so when we come back from spring break, we can move on to, our next speech. So let's talk a little bit about chapters 10 and 11 here. I want to make sure that you understand the qualities of effective speakers. It has to do with ethics, knowledge, preparation, and self-confidence. Ethics is more than just avoiding plagiarism, but that's the main thing that everybody thinks about. Okay. Plagiarism involves using more than one source. Please look at your instructions for your speech. This first one requires at least 3 sources. It's a variety of sources, which means I don't want you to go to one website or one article and use that or try to get away with using that as 3 different ones. Avoid language identical or to the original author, meaning if you're going to say something that came right out of a source, say, well, according to John Smith, yada da 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 da. It's very easy when you're speaking to give credit where credit is due. And cite your sources. And always identify your sources. So, speaking, you need to identify them, and if you're choosing to use PowerPoint slides, you need to make sure that somewhere on there we also know that you use those sources. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner of these slides, I don't know if you can see it on the film, they are copyrighted, which means I'm giving credit to the author of these slides, which happens to be your publisher. And give credit to the originator of the ideas. Let's talk about speech anxiety, stage fright, communication apprehension. Reduce it, manage it, control it. First, let me say that all of these things are normal, and we'll talk a little bit more about each of them. So, managing speech anxiety. I realize that none of you are exceptionally thrilled about this project or these speeches, and that's completely normal, and that's the first thing that you need to understand. So we're going to talk about what speech anxiety is. Anxiety in our situation is about being nervous, okay? And speech anxiety directly relates to public speaking. Communication apprehension is similar but yet different. In fact, speech anxiety is part of communication apprehension. Communication apprehension is when someone has some fear or anxiety about any communication situation. For me personally, I would much rather speak in front of a group of people than go to some kind of mixer where I have to introduce myself and shake people's hands and do small talk. That to me causes me greater anxiety than giving a speech. So you see that in different scenarios, different people are comfortable doing different things. What are the symptoms? We're going to talk about that in just a second. And what are the causes of speech anxiety? Okay, and again, we'll talk about that in just a second. And how does culture affect speech anxiety? You know, we live in this multicultural world, and you're attending a college that is so diverse, you probably couldn't find it anywhere else like this. And you have to understand that how people feel about speaking in public is directly related to their culture and how they were socialized. So we need to understand as audience members that some people are going to be more comfortable naturally standing up there than others. And that has to do with culture. You just need to understand how you feel and try to manage it the best that you can. And how is speech anxiety controlled? And we will try to figure that one out together as well. So let's talk about the symptoms. Vocal changes. This is especially noticeable in men, where they go from their low-pitched voice to squealing like girls. Okay, it happens. It's just a symptom. Fluency problems. Have you ever said to yourself, God, it's on the tip of my tongue and I just can't spit it out? Okay, or you try to say something and it comes out all weird? Yeah, we were trying the other day to say rear wheel drive, and it was impossible to say. Okay, that's fluency problems. Dryness in the mouth and throat. Think about how many times you have seen speakers, and don't they always have a little glass of water or something? It is water, it's not alcohol. That's because they're nervous. That's part of speech anxiety, and people who are going to speak for a long period of time do have some means to quench their thirst. Tense facial expressions. That's like the Statue of Liberty, okay? People have the deer in the headlight fear look. Random gestures. I had a kid who did this weird thing with his hands a couple of semesters ago. I don't know what it was, and he didn't even realize what it was, but his arms flicked around as he spoke. Those are the things we want to avoid. Body movements, we'll talk about them, and the non-visible symptoms. Here's the good thing. You realize that the gurgling in your stomach and the butterflies and the tenseness that you're feeling, we don't see. Okay? That's why they're non-visible symptoms. What causes it? Well, fear. And I want to put fear in perspective to you. Okay? I don't know how many of you are afraid of big, hairy spiders, but that's fear. Or poisonous snakes that could kill you. Again, fear. I think it was 2 years ago, there was a story about somebody that was going up, I think he was an Army guy. He was getting ready to go up for his very first jump out of an airplane. And he and his instructor went up, and everybody knew what was happening. He was just for the ride, and the instructor was going to pull the chutes, and, you know, he knew enough to be dangerous, but, you know, he wasn't alone. So he gets up there, they're on the fall down, 15,000 feet, and he realizes that his instructor is unconscious, and he is falling from an airplane in the sky, 50,000 feet, with an unconscious instructor. Okay, that, guys, is fear. So let's put fear into perspective. By the way, he survived, although unfortunately the instructor that was strapped to his back had a heart attack and did not make it. Fear of physical unattractiveness. Look, we get up every morning, we look at ourselves in the mirror, we realize that everybody's different. This is what we got. Okay? If you're nervous about it, okay, maybe dress a little better on a certain day. Comb your hair. Make sure there's no milk on your mouth. Okay? But is it really fear? It's what we have and what we accept, and it's nothing to be afraid of. Fear of social inadequacy. For the most part, you guys don't know each other, and so you're not going to go out on Friday night and no one's going to say, oh my gosh, Amy did this speech and it was blah, 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 blah. So, you know, we're not going to be talking about these speeches after we get out of here, and in most scenarios in public, people aren't going to talk about it. So what does that have to do with social inadequacy? Fear of criticism. Well, the good news is we don't criticize in here. Will we suggest things that you could do better? Oh, absolutely. But no one's going to stand up and go, oh my God, you suck. This is terrible. Fear of the unknown. What's unknown? You're going to stand up. You're going to walk to the podium. You're going to look at all of us. You're going to smile. I'm going to give you the thumbs up. I'm going to start the timer. You're going to start your speech. I'm going to give you whatever little warning labels I have. You're going to finish the speech, and you're going to sit back down, and everybody's going to clap. It's very, very simple. Fear of speech anxiety. Well, that was a list of things. Okay, so you look a little nervous. So your mouth gets a little dry. So you got some weird gestures. Well, don't worry about it. If you worry about them, it's going to happen. Okay, I don't remember if we talked about or you read about self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell yourself you're going to mess it up, okay, you will. So just don't even focus on the speech anxiety. Conflicting emotions. Yeah, people are excited. They want to get it over with. They're afraid. All kind of things occur. And the last one is excitement from anticipation. I just think that one is really hysterical. Okay, I realize that many of you are not truly excited about this whole process. Okay, but excitement can be defined in many ways. So let's talk about treating speech anxiety. Select a topic that you enjoy and know. Be prepared and know your audience. Be confident. Think positively. Practice, practice, practice. I can't even stress that enough. So this is going to be the end of video 1 only because I don't want to post something on YouTube that is tremendously long and will get kicked back, because then I would have to start over again. So this ends number 1. I will return in just a moment.